Hi, my name is Bente, I'm the Norse Witch, and in this video I will reply to the occulty tag that the Polish folk witch Ella Harrison and the red-headed witch created together here on YouTube. It's basically a tag all about witchcraft and social media, or like the broader occultism social media community, the problems that are in this community, our experiences with it, everything like that. They uploaded it just a few days back, but I instantly knew, okay, I will definitely participate in this tag because I have a lot to say. So here I am, very spontaneously. I don't have a script or anything, so I thought I would just sit down with a cup of tea and reply to all of those questions in a very chill manner, without a script, nothing like that. But yeah, definitely check out their videos. They were all incredibly insightful and very, very long. So probably this video will also be quite long. So I guess get like a tea or a coffee or a snack or something. Before I hop in though, I have a little announcement to make. So over to announcement Bente, and then we can start with the tag. If you remember, I have been on a podcast, The Order of Chaos by Sanre, which was very, very fun. And Sanre has now launched a new program, the Living Witchcraft program, and it starts on a new moon on March 10th this year, so very, very soon. And it talks about basically all things witchcraft and magical practices. And you will go out after 29 days and be set up for a successful witchcraft practice. So that is insanely cool. A 29-day course that sets you up for success, basically. There are also guest lectures. And guess who will be guest lecturing in the Living Witchcraft program? Yours truly. I will basically be talking about like all things runes. You don't need to know anything about the runes because I will take you from like a short little history class. Where did they come from, or supposedly come from? What they mean actually, like all of the runes. Elder Futhadic runes, that's maybe important. I will talk about the Elder Futhadic because that's what I use. But the focus will be on divination and magic with the runes. So I will tell you about my ways of casting the runes, different kinds of spreads with the runes, how to interpret them in those spreads, and if you just cast them, how to create magic with the runes, and both traditional ways and also more modern ways, or ones that stem more from my own intuition. I really hope that I will see some of you in the program. I'm very excited. And yeah, with that being said, I think that was everything I wanted to say. Okay, so the first thing to do, by the way, I have the questions on my phone because I cannot keep them in my non-existent memory. So the first thing to do is an introduction. Introduce yourself. How long have you been participating in the witchcraft online space? What practices and topics do you discuss primarily? So, well, I am the Norse Witch. Hello, in case you don't know yet. In case you maybe found my channel through the hashtag, then hi. So I have been participating, I think, for around 3 years now, maybe a little bit over 3 years. I created this channel, and yeah, YouTube is my primary platform, and I will definitely stay with YouTube as a primary platform because I think the algorithm is most reliable on here. It doesn't change as often as it does on other platforms, and TikTok is just horrible, but we will get into that later. So YouTube is definitely my main platform. I also have an Instagram and a Threads account though, where I post, well, Threads is usually a brain dump for me and a hot take platform, and Instagram is more of a private platform. I post a lot of just private stuff on there, things that I'm doing, my travels, for example, my cats, my pole dancing, and book ratings, things like that. My primary topics are what my name says, the Norse Witch. I am a Norse pagan, so Norse paganism is a big thing, and like Norse mythology, Scandinavian folklore, topics like that. And then of course I have the witchcraft side of things, so I also post about broader witchcraft, but I will also definitely, because I'm getting into Scandinavian folk magic, I will definitely start posting more about folklore, folk magic, trolldom in specific. Yeah, So that is what you can expect here. Everything's Scandinavian, basically. And well, with that being said, I guess let us jump right into the first topic. The first topic is impact on community. And the first question is, what is my personal reasoning or inspiration behind sharing my practice online? The reason why I primarily started this channel was because I have been working very closely with Odin in the past, and he basically requested it. He requested that I share my knowledge and my wisdom. I don't know if I would describe anything I share online as wisdom, but yeah, sharing my knowledge and my wisdom, basically putting my ideas and everything out there for other people to consume, so that I may maybe inspire people or give them ideas or stuff like that. So that was like the primary reasoning behind it. And yeah, at the moment, I think the main reason I am still on here, because I am not working as closely with Odin anymore, but I have really fallen in love with uploading on YouTube. It's primarily because I want to help my community out. I want to help my peers in whatever way. So sometimes that may be by, again, sharing my knowledge, giving like educational content, but sometimes it's also just showing my authentic practice online and talking about struggles that I personally have, talking about like hot takes or like weird comments that I get. Like I make a lot of like commentary and maybe ranty videos where I feel like by me sharing my thoughts on those topics, I can help people out, especially beginners, because they may not know all of these things. And sometimes it's just entertainment. People always tell me that my channel is like a cozy, safe space for them, and I kind of feel like bringing in a little bit of humor and a little bit of light-hearted fun and entertainment brings that feeling more than just educational content. So I kind of feel like I want like a nice balance between educational content and entertainment stuff and commentaries. So yeah, basically anything that helps my peers out. What am I looking to achieve by participating? Do I seek to educate, learn, or connect? I mean, I guess that depends on whether it's from the content creation side or the content consumer side, because I'm also consuming a lot of like broader occultism content online. I know there are some creators that don't really consume it, but I do a lot. I watch a lot of YouTube videos on like witchcraft and occultism and Norse paganism and anything like that. When it comes to the consumer side, I guess I participate to learn and to be inspired and motivated. That's like a huge thing. You probably know the feeling where it's like you consume content on the internet and you feel like you're not learning a huge amount of stuff. But even if you don't learn anything spectacularly new, you are still kind of motivated and inspired to like bring something new into your practice, or to just go out and do something, you know. Sometimes I get into this practicing slump, and by consuming witchcraft content, for example, or Norse paganism content, it just inspires me and motivates me to get my ass up and do shit. So from the consumer side, that is definitely that. Connecting with the community was not my main focus in the beginning, because I do have an in-person community, and I didn't really necessarily think I needed an online community, but it was a great added bonus. I have gotten to know so many amazing people. Of course, by now it's also connecting with other people, but in the beginning that wasn't my main focus or my main goal. And yeah, I guess when it comes to my content creator side, again, entertaining, educating, and just in general helping the community. So I guess there is a big community focus. I guess giving is a good word. I want to give. I am a giver as a content creator, or at least I try. All right, next up. How do I believe social media as a whole has impacted the community? Ooh, that's a very good question, because when I got into witchcraft, there was already social media, or like a social media community. Even before I got into it, there was already like a Tumblr community, which I didn't participate in. When I got into it, YouTube just started out, because Harmony Nights was basically the first one to really pop up. So YouTube wasn't really a thing yet, at least not like bigger creators, but Instagram was like a big thing. Like Instagram was the platform that I participated in the beginning a lot. I kind of feel like back then it was very eclectic, Wicca, light and fluffy stuff. Back then, I guess it watered witchcraft down a lot to a very light and fluffy thing. Like this typical light and love Wicca practice, you know, which if you do that, that's totally fine, but that's just not everything there is, and witchcraft is more than that. But back then on social media, it definitely seemed like that was what was available. So that was what witchcraft was. And of course, like Harmony Nice had a big impact on that. I feel like we have developed a lot into a better, more broad and more diverse community. So there are a lot of different practices that are available out there. I feel like one impact that social media has at the moment is that people consume more than they actually practice, but that could also be more just what I perceive because I hear it a lot. I feel like it has shifted any kind of magical practice away from doing it more in secrecy to doing it in broad daylight and being like, here, I am loud, I am proud, and I am a witch. And that has positive and negative sides to it, in my opinion. I mean, I think it's awesome that it has gotten much more accepted, at least in some countries. That's not the case everywhere, depending on where you live. Even in one country, it can be very different depending on the region that you live in. In Germany, I can only say that from my experience, if you go out and say you're a witch, people will probably think you're a little bit insane and will just laugh at you. They will not be like afraid of you, but they will just laugh at you and they won't take you seriously anymore. So it's not necessarily dangerous to tell people you're a witch, but it's, yeah, I don't know, it's uncomfortable because you never know how someone will react to it and how they will see you afterwards. But I feel like because the community is growing so much on social media, and yes, there are a lot of watered down practices that are a little bit more new agey, but I kind of feel like because those exist, they are just a little bit more friendlier to the like broader mainstream community. So I kind of feel like that opens the community up a little bit to the outside and makes it more acceptable. If the entire social media witchcraft community was only just like bones and blood and curses, then I guess it would not be as accepted as it is today. And I guess that is a good thing. Of course, we can talk about like new age and toxic positivity and everything like that, but you can't deny that the fact that a lot of people practice like that has made it much more, or like at least has made the idea of magical practices a lot more acceptable to people. It may have made it seem more naive in some way and like very light and fluffy, but I mean, if that means that people are more accepting of it, I don't have a problem with that. I think another big factor though is, well, social media platforms are mostly visual content. They're either short form video content like TikTok, or they're photos like Instagram, or they're longer form videos on YouTube. So they're very visual. So of course, like the whole aesthetic topic comes into play here. I don't really think that that's a bad thing though, per se. Of course, it may make people feel like they need to buy a lot of stuff. But I mean, in general, if people want an aesthetic practice, I don't really think that that's a problem, you know? As long as they know that they don't have to have it. That's the thing. But yeah, I guess that is where we can jump into the next question, because there we get a little bit more specific. How do I think social platforms such as TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube have each impacted education and sharing information? Because yeah, there it gets a little bit more tricky, because I kind of feel like on YouTube, you just have a lot more time to explain things, to get into the nuance of things, to maybe even discuss positive and negative sides of things. You can create much more authenticity, because if you, for example, show like a beautifully decorated altar on YouTube, you have simply the time to say in the video, oh, by the way, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do that, you don't have to have all that stuff. Whereas on TikTok, for example, with short form content, you don't really have the time to do that. That is something that I really dislike about TikTok, and that's also one reason why I stopped posting on TikTok, is because you can't really get to the meat of things. You're staying very shallow with everything that you share because you just don't have enough time to talk about stuff. So really sharing educational content, in my opinion, on TikTok is impossible. because there's always more to say about something. I don't know if it's still a thing, but I know that you could upload technically 10-minute long videos, I think. But TikTok has reduced the attention span of people so much. People usually don't watch videos or like short form videos anymore that are longer than like 30 seconds because they're like, oh, I'm already over it scrolling. So even if you were trying to post longer videos on TikTok, they wouldn't reach anyone because nobody would watch them because they are not short and instantly entertaining and catching. Because you have to explain things, and to people on TikTok that's boring. Also, I feel like the TikTok algorithm has created a space where you can only really grow if you are creating content that is very polarizing. So content that could potentially start a lot of drama. Drama is a big thing on TikTok. Like, I kind of feel like 50% of content on TikTok is drama because, of course, that is what's engaging to people. People will comment and share and like reply to those videos because they are polarizing and they have an opinion about things and they will comment on it. And of course that pushes those videos in the algorithm, just like very, very, very short entertaining videos. You can post a lot of skits on there and that's about it. But the thing with skits is, and I feel like that has happened a lot with deity work and spirit communication on TikTok, is that you will make skits about it, but you don't have the time to really explain things. And nobody reads the caption. So even if you write in the caption, this is not what it actually looks like, this is just a skit, people won't read it. And beginners will just think that this entertainment purpose content is actually what happens in real life, which of course isn't the thing. I feel like that has definitely happened with deity work and like spirit communication and stuff, because there was a lot of content about that on TikTok. That's why I feel like these practices have blown up so much and they became kind of a trend. But people really got a wrong image of what it actually is like. If you would show that in a video, sometimes that would just be you sitting on the ground meditating. And that's just not entertaining. So nobody shares that. A lot of occult practices happen inside of you. At least for me, a lot of the communication that I do, for example with spirits and deities, happens inside of me, not outside, but inside of me. And I mean, how am I supposed to show me or my intuition or like images popping up in my head? How am I supposed to show that visually? That's just not possible. So you cannot show everything accurately. I think that's a problem. And yeah, Instagram, I guess. I mean, yeah, it's a photo platform. It's an aesthetic thing. So of course, very little people actually read captions on Instagram. It's just like, oh, nice picture, like, scroll. Oh, nice picture, like, scroll. And that's about it. Showing the real practice on a photo is very much impossible. So what do you share? Of course, you share the products that you have. You share the books that you got. You share the candles that you got or you made, etc. You show products, physical things, because that is what's possible, really. And that is what really makes it on Instagram. Of course, you could share like your thoughts in like a nice illustration or something, but that usually doesn't really have a lot of reach. That usually doesn't really do well on Instagram. So of course you share products and your altar and stuff, and people could assume that they need all of that stuff because that is what they see, because that is what does well. That's in general a thing about social media. People tend to post what does well because of course they want to reach more people. So they have to kind of adjust to the algorithms, and the algorithms don't really favor the real deal. But to be honest, I don't really have a lot of negative thoughts about YouTube impacting the witchcraft community or the broader occultism community, because since it is longer form content, you have time to explain things thoroughly. I feel like at the moment, at least, there are a lot of people who actually comment on problems. So I kind of feel like at the moment, it's a pretty nice place on YouTube. I mean, of course, again, people post what does well in the algorithm, and a lot of the times that is a lot of consumerist videos, so like hauls and stuff like that, or like unboxings. That's usually what does well. Again, it's either drama because people click it, or it's like hauls and stuff. But you have to also keep in mind that that's not just a creator problem. That's a huge audience problem, because who drives the algorithm? It's not the creator, it's the audience. As long as we like drama and consumerism in the witchcraft community, that is what will be clicked on all platforms. That is what will do well in the algorithm, so that is what creators will continue to push, at least if they want to grow. That's the thing, not every single creator does that, because not every single creator is out there for growth, you know. There are creators out there who don't give a crap about growth, you know. Usually if you're a content creator and you're serious about it, you want to grow, so you try to make content that will do well. And that's not usually like the educational stuff, let me tell you. The educational videos don't usually do very well. I think it's a general community thing. I think it's not only a general witchcraft community thing, but a general humanity thing. We like drama and gossip, and we like consuming stuff because that's how we are raised. And of course that bleeds down into every single other community. It isn't only about the witchcraft community. That also bleeds into the social media community. But I don't think that it's necessarily a primary social media problem. It's a general humanity problem. Last question in this topic: is consuming witchcraft content becoming a substitute for practice? I don't know, because I don't know every single person on the internet who consumes witchcraft content. I know that for some people it is, because I know that they have told me, and I know that for me sometimes it is because I will get into slumps, and in those slumps I try to at least consume content, because that could basically push me into practicing again, because it motivates me or it gives me some ideas for something that I want to try. I kind of feel like social media has the potential to do both. It can lead to people just sitting there and watching content, but to be honest, that was already a thing before social media, because I bet there were a lot of armchair witches and occultists already before social media, simply because they were only reading books and not practicing. So, is that really a social media problem? Not necessarily, but of course, yeah, it's very inviting to just sit there and watch a video after another, because there is a lot of content out there nowadays. So it at least gives you the possibility of just consuming, but it also has the potential to, for example, pull you out of the witchcraft or in general a spiritual burnout. It has the potential to motivate you so that you do get out of a slump. And that is what it does for me a lot of the times. I feel like it can do both for you, but of course you have to screen your own consumerism and maybe just hold yourself accountable and tell yourself, okay, I can only consume like 3 videos a day or something. Let us talk about topic 2. Influencer authenticity. Okay, out of what I share on social media, how much of it is staged versus reality? I would say 95% is staged. Of course, I make a lot of sit down and talk content, so of course that is staged. Even though I sometimes make unscripted videos that are just me rambling, most of the times when I make sit down and talk videos, they are scripted so that I don't forget a very important thing to say. But for example, when it comes to vlogs, I try to keep it authentic. Of course, maybe I will like clean up my apartment so that the background doesn't look dirty. So maybe like that would be something that is inauthentic. Yeah, but when it comes to like showing my practice in vlogs, for example, I try to do it as authentically as possible. I do not show my entire spell work. Like if I show spell work, I will just set up my camera, keep it rolling, and then do my stuff. So I will not have like B-roll from 5 different angles or things like that, because then I will stage it. As soon as you try to make something aesthetically pleasing, you are staging it, definitely. What I will try always is, if I film something, me doing something that I'm actually doing and not staging, then I try to just set up my camera, let it roll, and that's about it. But I will never show an entire spell that I'm actually doing, including like the chants, the words that I'm using, etc. I'm fine with like basically doing what I did in my last vlog. I basically just showed me like sitting next to the candle and doing stuff with it, but not explaining what exactly I'm doing. And afterwards, I think I told you what kind of candle I used and what herbs or something. But that's about it. I'm very open to sharing a lot of like the materials that I use for different kinds of things, but I will not share the entire spell that I'm actually doing. Yeah, if I'm, for example, posting a video online only about a spell that is a specific spell work video, it will be staged 100% and it will not be the actual real deal. Just be aware of that. And I think that's the thing with most people, with most creators online, because if you try to film it again with 5 different beautiful angles and stuff, you don't really have the time or the mind space to really focus on the spell work, so that's why you stage it. And that's also why I don't make a lot of videos about spells, because of course if I stage it, I am wasting a lot of ingredients. I'm wasting candles or I'm wasting herbs, and I don't really like doing that. So you don't usually do that a lot. But yeah, I guess 95% is staged and like 5% is authentic. And I guess the only thing that's really authentic is the vlogs, because it is vlogs. I don't really see a point in vlogging if I'm staging everything. Do I think there is an element of censorship in online spaces? How do I decipher what is appropriate to share online versus what to keep privately? Is this based on social media etiquette or a personal preference? Okay, well, censorship is a hard word. Of course, there's a censorship in that different social media platforms have community guidelines. So I don't know, I guess I could not share me doing an animal sacrifice on YouTube or something. I guess that would go against the community guidelines. So that, I guess, is like some kind of censorship. But when it comes to more like community rules or something that we have set up in the witchcraft online community, I wouldn't necessarily call that censorship. And I kind of feel like they don't really exist, because there are people sharing so many different things online. But there is things that I personally don't necessarily share. So again, my 100% authentic spell work, I will never share that. That's just a secrecy thing. I'm gatekeeping my spells. Sorry, not sorry. I guess I also wouldn't necessarily share content on hexing and cursing. Maybe I would talk about like herbs that you can use for it or something, but I wouldn't share like a spell and explain a spell that is a curse or a hex or something, or explain how to hex or curse, things like that. Simply because, and by the way, I feel like that's a lot of creators seem to agree with that, because first of all, you will get a lot of hate for it. And second, you don't know who consumes that content. So on YouTube, for example, I think everyone above 12 years can be on YouTube and consume your content. So if you are uploading videos on, for example, hexing and cursing, there can be like a 13-year-old person, a little teenager, being like, oh yeah, I will use that and hex my mom because, I don't know, she said I can't eat the chocolate or something. I don't know what teenagers are up to these days, but you know what I mean. You never know who will consume your content, so that's why people make up rules for themselves. And I mean, I guess there are probably people out there who share content on hexing and cursing, but I haven't seen it personally. I know a lot of people are also very apprehensive about posting about blood and anything like that. I don't have a problem with that. Hexing and cursing, I wouldn't necessarily post about that. Have I ever encountered or heard of grifters in our community? Do I recognize them? What are significant signs of grifters in the community? As in probably every community, there are definitely grifters. I think the most prominent ones will definitely be the scammers. Oh, how I hate them. People who impersonate other creators online, either on TikTok or on Instagram. That's at least where I know the most are out there. That will impersonate other creators, copy their content, and then have very, very similar names to the original creator. Like, for example, I'm the_Norse_witch on Instagram, and they will have, for example, the__Norse_witch as their name, and they will copy my entire feed, and then the impersonators, the scammers, will send the followers a message saying something like, oh, I want to do a reading for you and it only costs like $500, you know? So they will try to scam people out of their money, offer them services, readings, things like that us original creators never offered. So I kind of feel like it's pretty obvious most of the times, because honestly, how big are the chances that an online creator sends you a message offering you a reading or something if they have never posted about anything like that. Even though I think it is kind of obvious, especially in the way that they are phrasing their messages. They always phrase them kind of like, "Grand rising, my moon child, I sensed your energy and your ancestors told me I need to give you a reading and it only cost $300. So it is kind of obvious a lot of the times, but still there will be people who don't have a lot of social media knowledge, not a lot of experience on those platforms. So those people, of course, will be very vulnerable to those people. Those are probably the most prominent scammers, grifters out there. But of course, as with any kind of community, especially if it gets kind of consumeristic, I don't know if that is a word that exists. I already talked about the entire practice on social media getting a little bit of a consumeristic flair, because that is just what you can see and what you can share is your stuff, basically. So of course there will be people who will jump on that train and on that bandwagon and try to sell you things, and they don't actually know what they're doing. I kind of feel like it is rather easy to open up a witchcraft supply shop because, first of all, you can buy a lot of cheap shit off like AliExpress and stuff and just resell it, and people will buy it. Like, oh, that is a pet peeve of mine, honestly. If you want to buy witchcraft wares, witchcraft paraphernalia, tools, items, please look up online where they are from and just cross-reference other shops and see if like basically any kind of shop has them, because if that's the case, then it's probably very cheap China-made AliExpress stuff. Ugh. So many shops are reselling this crap. It is honestly crap. It's crap quality, just ew. So it's very easy to make money off of that. It's very easy to make money off of crystals, because you don't necessarily, like, if you don't care about it and you just want to make money from it, it's so easy to get all of this stuff wholesale and just resell it for insane prices. That's the insane thing about it, is that they don't even like resell it for a cheap price because they got it cheap. No, they will resell it for an immense price. Scotty has joined me. She was crying so loud that I had to get her attention, so now we have a little kitty. But yeah, it is very easy to make a shop. Like if you look at Etsy and you look for witchcraft stuff, you will see so many things and so many weird readings. Like what the heck, like so many readers out there, and there's just a very high chance on Etsy to get scammed with readings and stuff. And a lot of the shops on there have no idea what they're doing, like loading their candles with herbs and shit, and the candles end up exploding, or like using a lot of essential oils in like intention oils and stuff, and then telling people to put that on their bodies, even though that can have a very negative impact on your body if you use like a lot of essential oils. So yeah, definitely make sure that the people you buy your products from know what they're doing and that the products aren't like cheap ass products from China. There are also a lot of people selling courses now, which I think is great because I like doing courses. But of course, again, there can be people who actually have no clue what they're talking about selling courses. So always make sure to check whether they are already like renowned in the community. And if not, like maybe ask them how long they've been practicing, where they get all that knowledge from, etc. so that you can vet them a little bit. Because if they don't have any reviews or something, how are you supposed to know if they know what they're talking about? Like as witches and practitioners, we don't get like certificates, we don't do like a PhD or something, we don't go to university for witchcraft or occult practices. It's not like you can ask the reader for a certificate or something, even though, wow, yeah, scammer and grifter alert, there are people on Etsy offering you like vulva certification courses and stuff like that. That is bullshit. Don't fall for that, please. So yeah, sometimes it's rather obvious, but yeah, ask around, look for reviews. If they are not there, ask the person who offers the course for their credentials, basically. Okay, next question. What tools are helpful to decipher misinformation, and how can we as a community prevent widespread misinformation? Okay, since you see part of my library already, I like to use books. So I like to cross-reference whenever I hear or read something that seems a little bit sketchy to me or that I have never heard or read anywhere else. Then I try to find it in any books or with other creators or on any websites where I know I can trust them, or even like in scholarly articles or something like that. I try to see if I can find it anywhere else, and if I cannot find it anywhere else, I will discard it. I mean, if the person stated that it's just their opinion, that's a different story, but if they state it as fact or a rule, you know how much I love rules, if they do that and I cannot find it anywhere else, I will discard it as bullshit. And how can we as a community prevent widespread misinformation? We can reply to it. Like, if you see something on TikTok and you know it's misinformation, then how about you reply to that video with another video? Same on YouTube. If you see something or like a rule being made up or a fact being made up and that is being spread around a lot, how about you make a reply video and have people share that or something? That is what I like to do. That's why I make a lot of commentary videos, because I want people to be aware of bullshit that's out there. So that is something that you can definitely do. Apart from that, I kind of fear that you cannot do a lot. You cannot prevent people from sharing misinformation. You can share the true information, the true facts, but that also won't prevent people from sharing misinformation. The only thing you can do is educate people on what's the real deal, leave comments under those videos or posts, reply with your own posts or your own videos. I kind of feel like that's the only thing you can really do. Okay, how does a large following impact the perception of the creator? Does this immediately make them an expert? Or are there other assumptions as to why they may have a large following? Oh, let me tell you, just because they have a lot of followers does not mean they're an expert. Okay, first of all, there are a lot of experts that have zero social media experience and they will have like 10 followers, even though they are experts on the topic. To make it on social media and to grow, you only have to figure out how the algorithm works. And a lot of the times that is making very scandalous thumbnails and titles, for example, on YouTube. Again, drama is always doing well on the algorithm. And on Instagram, for example, you just have to make aesthetically pleasing content. So again, you need like a good camera and a nice background and then edit it in a nice way. But those skills have nothing to do with knowledge and wisdom about anything that has to do with witchcraft or occultism or even paganism. Those two do not necessarily go hand in hand. Let me just say that. They can go hand in hand. There are a lot of big creators out there who definitely know what they're doing. But yeah, knowing your shit about witchcraft is not necessarily a prerequisite for making it on social media in that sphere. But I am aware that for a lot of people, a large following may seem like that person knows what they're doing. I do not have a big following, but still I already experienced people putting me on a pedestal and thinking I know a lot. You only see what we put out there. You only see the end result, but you don't see all of the research that goes into a video or a post. You don't see the huge script that we write, and we just cut all of the ahs and ums out and the times where we said something wrong. And in the end, it may seem like we're very knowledgeable, but it can also just be a lot of research in this one video, and after that video, we forget everything that we've said. Even just because you have informational, educational content doesn't necessarily mean that you are more knowledgeable than your followers. People have parasocial relationships with creators. People put creators on a pedestal, and creators don't even necessarily have to have a huge following for that. And that is very, very dangerous. Large following, or in general a presence on social media, doesn't mean that you know what you're talking about. But yeah, there is definitely the perception for some people, or for a lot of people, just subconsciously, that they will probably know what they're doing if they have a big following. Next up, how does one maintain the balance of authenticity and content creation? Okay, I can only say what I'm doing. And I hope that I'm being authentic. At least I hear a lot of the times that people appreciate me being authentic. So I try to just not only focus on the pretty side of things and not only share the things that go right, but also share the things that go wrong or my struggles, for example. I have multiple videos on my channel where I share things that I'm struggling with, and I'm very honest about that. Like, people know that I am not clairaudient, I don't hear anything, for example. And I don't try to cover that fact up by only sharing what I can do. So I think honesty is just a big thing. I feel like on YouTube that's pretty easy. Just say if you can't do something or if you don't have something. But I think on Instagram it's a little bit harder because I kind of feel that sharing a struggle in a photo is a little bit harder because that requires people to read the caption. So I kind of feel like on Instagram it's a little bit harder. It will probably end up with you sharing either a reel about it or stories. But in general, I just kind of feel like content creators should not only share the beautiful, curated stuff with a lot of B-roll and sprinkling herbs and lighting a candle, but also the things they struggle with, because we all struggle with stuff. You cannot tell me that you don't struggle with anything. So yeah, just having a nice balance between sharing the beautiful sides and sharing the not so beautiful sides. Ooh-hoo-hoo! Topic 3. Imposter syndrome and FOMO. Oh, that's my topic. I already made an entire video on imposter syndrome because it's strong in me. When I follow other creators in the community space, does it make me feel genuinely inspired and empowered? Or does it create feelings of FOMO and being less than? That completely depends. It's sometimes also just a thing of how they present their content. So with some creators, I just don't vibe with them and they will make me feel less than, so I just unfollow and that's it, because it's not their fault how I react to their content. So I will just unfollow those people. But I think most of the times other creators' content will inspire me. That's why, again, I said a lot of content will drag me out of a slump or a burnout. So that is amazing. So yeah, most of the times I perceive other creators' content as very positive because I am learning new things. I'm getting inspiration and motivation. So that's great. Sometimes when creators share something about skills or experience that they had, which I don't have, for example, if people tell me about the way that they can talk to spirits, for example, because they're clairaudient, of course I will get envious about that because I don't have that, and that just feels very, I don't know, very convenient. Same about when people share that, for example, they got into witchcraft or they got raised with witchcraft, for example, or they had a lot of paranormal experiences as a child or something, and that's how they got into witchcraft. When people share things like that, I definitely have the feeling of having missed out on something because I got into witchcraft so late in life. Not necessarily a feeling of missing out right now, but definitely a feeling of having missed out on something. I guess that is the biggest thing. But yeah, most of the times content makes me feel a positive way. Motivated, inspired, me learning something. If I experience FOMO, has it ever left me feeling vulnerable to be taken advantage of financially or otherwise? An example would be the need to purchase the latest popular product or book to fit in. I don't really have that. I don't feel like I have to read a book to fit in. The only thing that happens is that people will share a book and I will be like, oh, I'm interested in that topic, I will buy that book. But that's not because I'm fearing of missing out, but simply because I find it interesting and I want to read it. Again, I don't really buy a lot of stuff for my craft anymore. I make most of my stuff myself. So I kind of feel like I'm very grounded in that aspect. I don't really have a lot of fear of missing out. The only thing where I have a little bit of FOMO is when people share about going on trips to like pagan markets or fairs or something, because I kind of feel like there are so many in the US and Canada, and in Germany that's just not a thing. They do not exist at all. So there I have a lot of FOMO. Oh yeah, definitely. But that won't cause me to like travel to the US to go to a witchcraft fair or something. So no, not really actually. kind of happy about that because I already buy a lot of stuff impulsively, but not for my witchcraft practice anymore. When practicing my craft, do I find myself comparing what I do to what I've been seeing people do online? Not anymore. I'm still struggling a little bit with the deity and spirit communication thing because I feel like it is so hard to share the accurate experience online that nobody really knows what the other people are doing. So that makes it hard to figure out if what you're doing yourself is working. But I mean, if it's working, it's working, you know? So at this point, actually, I don't really compare myself anymore because I know that what I do works. And as long as it works, it works. It doesn't really matter if other people are doing it differently because that's their practice and not mine. I would say I don't really compare my practice anymore. But it has taken me some time to get here, trust me. I'm in general a person that's very easily influenced. It has taken me a couple of years to figure out what I really like and what really works for me. But now I kind of feel like I'm pretty well set up with that. In what ways do I combat imposter syndrome? Talking about it. That's why I made my imposter syndrome video, because I kind of feel like the more people share their struggles with imposter syndrome, the better other people will feel. At this point, I kind of feel like imposter syndrome is talked about a lot, and that made me feel so much better. So I will honestly just listen to other people talk about it too, so that I realize, okay, I am not the only one feeling like a fraud. And simply because I'm feeling like a fraud, it doesn't mean I am one. But also, a lot of my own imposter syndrome comes from me feeling like I don't know enough, which is pretty funny because I kind of feel like I am kind of knowledgeable, but my memory is horrible. So if you meet me on the streets and you will ask me something specific that I've talked about in the video, then chances are very high that I won't know anymore. A lot of my imposter syndrome comes from that, from me knowing that my memory is so bad that my knowledge and information retainment is also very bad. And knowing where your imposter syndrome comes from, because I mean, of course, there is some kind of insecurity where the imposter syndrome stems from. And knowing that helps you a lot to not beat it, because I think you cannot really beat it, but it helps you deal with it. And for me, that means that if I go into a situation where I know I am feeling imposter syndrome about, for example, my guest lecture, I am already feeling imposter syndrome about it, but that means I will just do twice as much research and prepare myself twice as well as I would normally, so that it doesn't come across as me being stupid because I don't remember something, you know? Because it happens a lot that someone asks me something very specific and I know that I had researched it already. I know that I read it somewhere and that I probably talked about it in a video, but I just don't remember in that moment. And I'm always afraid that it will make me come across as being dumb. So knowing about that, I know, okay, I will do twice as much research up front and I will prepare myself twice as well so that that can't happen. And then I don't feel as much imposter syndrome about it anymore because I know I am very well prepared. Next up, last question in the topic 3. What would my practice look like without the social media influence of other creators? For me, it probably just wouldn't exist in the first place because I found out about witchcraft and occultism and paganism, about this entire sphere, over social media by just randomly watching a video by Harmony Nice because it popped up on YouTube and it sounded interesting. So hadn't it been for Harmony Nice's video, I wouldn't have stumbled upon it because in Germany it's not a topic that people talk about. And it's not something that you can really stumble upon in a bookstore because we have like a tiny little like esoterica section, but it's not really witchcraft books that you will find there. It's more like very new agey, very woo-woo kind of stuff. And I kind of feel like if I would stumble upon them, I probably would not feel a pull towards it because it's so woo-woo and so new age. So you are not really exposed to witchcraft or occultism or paganism in Germany if you're not on social media. So if it wasn't for the social media community, I would not be practicing. I know in, for example, the US and in Canada, it's a little bit different, but for a lot of people in other kinds of countries, witchcraft and occultism and paganism isn't just out there. People don't talk about it. In that way, I kind of feel like social media witchcraft is extremely important because it brings, simply just the knowledge about it and the awareness into spaces where it otherwise would not exist. So yeah, without social media, I would not practice probably. And then we get into topic number 4, and that is capitalizing off community. Question number 1, do I consider online communities as equally valid to in-person communities? Definitely equally valid, but they are definitely not the same. I feel like there is a big difference between being able to talk to other people about it and being able to practice with other people. Because I mean, of course, like I am in a coven, I have practiced with other people, I have done rituals with other people, and the experience it's very different. Even if you have an online community and you are able to talk to other people about it, you are still in the end in your home alone, practicing alone. So it's still kind of isolating. And I mean, that's just a general social media thing. Social media communities make us feel like we have actual social interaction, but we don't. Just because we watch other people's stories or something, we feel like we know what's going on in their lives and we are interacting with them, but we're not. We're just consuming their content. Yeah, I still feel like it is very valid, especially because there are people who live in either countries where it's actually forbidden or people just don't talk about it. It's just not widely accessible in general. So especially for those people, online communities are extremely important because otherwise they would be all alone. But I must say I still prefer real life community, because then you can actually sit down with people, do readings for each other, talk about it, practice it together, do actual magic and rituals together, and that does not compare to an online community. Online communities are very nice. I love everyone that I've met online, but still I would much prefer to meet those people in person. How have online occult or witchcraft communities impacted me as a person and practitioner? They have made me grow. I mean, in general, they have led to me figuring out about witchcraft and occultism and paganism. So, I mean, that's great. But in general, since I have become a creator, I have grown so much as a practitioner. So I'm insanely grateful for that. I think I would not be in the place that I am right now with my practice if it hadn't been for me being a creator in the community. I think if I had only consumed content, I would not be at the place that I am now. Other than that, I kind of feel like I would probably be culturally appropriating more than I am at the moment, simply because, again, a Germany problem. Cultural appropriation, the topic is not really talked about in Germany. I mean, it is talked about a little bit, but it's not that much. It's not seen as that much of a problem as it is, for example, in the US and in Canada. So that topic being talked about in the community has had an impact on the German community. If you buy books around here, they do not contain anything about cultural appropriation, especially because a lot of the books contain cultural appropriation a lot, because it's a lot of new age woo-woo kind of stuff. So it probably wouldn't have been brought to my attention if it hadn't been for the social media community. I will have to be a little bit faster because my camera is overheating every like 15 minutes and I'm over it. So what are some of the dangers of the current phenomenon of capitalizing off the witchcraft community? I mean, what I already talked about, grifters, scammers, everything like that. The community is very open to scammers and stuff simply because we don't have certifications and things like that. So anyone can go on the internet and pretend to know about astrology, pretend to know about tarot readings. So everyone can go online and sell those things, even if they have no idea what they're doing. If you get like an online reading and it's just like a PDF reading or something, you only get like a text. You don't even know if those people actually do a reading or if they just suck something out their asses, you know? So that's a big danger. Of course, there is like the danger of influencers trying to capitalize off of their community by trying to make you buy things that you don't need. Of course, that's a problem. I don't really see it that often in the witchcraft community, to be honest. Already because we are not like the target audience for a lot of brands that would maybe approach other kinds of influencers. So I think we're less in a dangerous zone for that. But of course it is there. But in general, I kind of feel like grifters and scammers are like the biggest danger. Okay, have I been personally affected by this, or have I witnessed someone else being affected? I have had one person in my Instagram DMs saying that they were actually scammed by one of my impersonators. So they actually sent them money, and I felt so bad about that because there's just nothing I can really do about it. Like, the social media platforms don't care if you report those accounts. They usually just say, oh, they don't violate any kind of community guidelines. Well, thank you. But that's the only thing, I think. I don't really buy a lot of stuff online, like readings or anything like that, simply because I don't want to be scammed. But yeah, I know of people who were, so that sucks. Should there be paywalled communities and online courses? Why not? If people actually know what they're talking about, then I think it's just as valid to have a paid course or something in the witchcraft sphere as it is in any other sphere. Like, why should you not be allowed to sell a course on witchcraft, but be allowed to sell a course on social media marketing, for example? It's both a skill that people want to learn about. So why should it be allowed or valid to financially profit off of one topic but not the other? That never really made sense to me. So in my opinion, it should definitely be allowed, and it's definitely valid to put your content behind a paywall, especially because courses and stuff are a lot of work. And if you definitely know what you're talking about, then years of experience are going into this course. So it's definitely valid. But only if you know what you're doing, that's the thing. How does one ensure the authenticity of courses, workshops, memberships, etc. as a financial investment? Okay, I think I already talked about it a little bit. It's hard to figure out if a course is like the real deal or if someone's just pretending. But yeah, basically, as I already said, try to see if someone else in your community has already participated in that course. Of course, look for reviews and stuff, but a lot of the times the shops or like the platforms where these courses are sold don't have like review features or something. But if they do, of course, like if the reviews are bad, then don't participate. But if that's not available, then try to find out if someone else has participated already. Maybe you will see like comments on their social media. I mean, they probably announce it in a post or something. Maybe look in the comments if someone already commented like, oh yeah, I participated and it was great. Of course, that can also be fake, but you can at least like send them a DM and ask for elaboration. Of course, there are a lot of people offering courses that are already talked about in a positive way in the community. Then that's a sure sign that the course is the real deal. But yeah, if nobody talks about it, just be careful. Oh wow, and with that, we're already getting to the conclusions. So, what are some topics of conversation you'd like to see more of in our community? I kind of feel like we're getting better with talking about uncomfortable things. Like, I would like to see much more people talk about the things that they struggle with. I guess that is it. I kind of feel like our community is pretty good at talking about like more negative things, about like speaking up about cultural appropriation, for example, or racism or topics like that. Of course, I'd like to see much more people in the Norse pagan community talk about racism and like bigotry in general. But I kind of feel like we're already on a good path there. Like it's getting way better. Okay, what are my community needs? One thing that I would really like to see more of is people outside of the US, Canada, and Britain being given a platform to talk, because I sometimes feel like our community tends to favor people from the US, Canada, and Britain. I don't know if it's about maybe people don't like to listen to people with an accent, especially with now folk magic coming more into the focus. I sometimes feel like there should be more of a platform for people from those countries who actually live there to talk about those topics. It's totally valid for example, people from the US who practice, I don't know, German folk magic to talk about German folk magic, but I kind of feel like if we do, for example, an interview about specifically this topic, I think it would be nice to actually look for people in those countries living there to talk about it. And that's not a gatekeeping thing. I would really like to see more diversity, and there is just a big focus on practitioners from the US and Canada. I kind of feel like sometimes people in other parts of the world may have different views on things, and I think we should highlight them more. Where would I like to feel more held and supported? I don't know, I'm for myself, I don't want to complain. I'm pretty happy. Yeah, I guess. Where do I feel like I'm not truly being seen by my community? Oh, that is a good question, because I kind of feel like people get me pretty well because I am very open. I don't know, I don't really have complaints about that. How can we help each other in removing the external peer pressure and grow in community? Yeah, I already kind of talked about this. Just talk about things as they are, be honest about your practice. Don't pretend like it's more special or more beautiful to gain more views or something. Just be open and honest about things, especially about your struggles, about any kinds of things that are hard for you or that don't work for you. Just don't pretend. Like, I think it's very important just for creators not to pretend like their practice is something else that it actually is. Because in the end, we're all just practicing. It does not do any good to anyone, neither to the creator nor to the community, to pretend like their practice is more elaborate than it actually is. Because I feel like if we actually talked about our struggles and showed our practice as raw and natural as it is, that would show other people that their practice is also valid, because they are also just as awkward. Okay, how can we as a community come together more with constructive criticism without it seeming shady or passive aggressive? I mean, just phrase things differently. Instead of just writing a comment being like, oh, you talked about this and that's wrong. Maybe phrase it differently. It's just a communication thing. Just write the comment in a different way. Just say something like, hey, I really appreciated this video. I just have one point that you could have elaborated more on, or that maybe I see a little bit differently. You know, it's just the choice of words is very important on the internet, especially because there are people out there who are not native English speakers, for example, who will maybe not have a very easy time understanding your, I don't know, irony or sarcasm or the comment in general. So just be a little bit more nice about it, and I think that would solve a lot of problems. How can we as a community do better when we do and receive criticism or feedback? Take it as a positive thing and not a negative. Like, don't try to not feel attacked by it. Because in the end, it's about, for example, trying to prevent misinformation being spread further. The comment, at least if it's phrased in a nice way, then it's usually meant in a nice way to, for example, prevent misinformation from being spread, or to just inform you that something that you thought was true is actually not true. So it's usually not meant in a bad way. At least that's what I hope. So yeah, just try to receive it as positive criticism and not negative criticism. Of course, that does not take like hate comments into account. Hate comments are hate comments. We don't have to talk about that. But yeah, if you get negative criticism and maybe it's something that's very important, even just try to reflect on it and do it in an objective way, and try to remove the emotions from it. I know that is very hard, especially for me. I'm very bad at that. It's not about hurting you. The criticism is not meant to hurt you. It's meant to make you better or create a better environment for everyone. Sometimes it's bigger than just you. Who are some community members that I look up to that are reliable resources and aspirations? So many, I can't shout out everyone. Okay, let me just start with the basics. The Witch of Wanderlust, I've gotten to know Olivia in the past months a little bit better, and definitely a reliable resource and a great person, so definitely her. The Green Witch, I already know, if I had a question or something that I wanted to know about herbs, I would go to her channel. So that is a very easy thing. It always depends on the topic. The Oak Witch also most definitely, especially when it comes to like traditional magic, folk magic, British kinds of folk magic and things like that. And my camera is overheating again, so sorry, but I have to wrap this up. Add any further thoughts, comments, prompt questions of your own, or express further points, offer solutions. I kind of feel like this tag is already very, very exhaustive. I don't really have any further thoughts about it. I think I got rid of all of my comments. So thank you so much for creating this tag. This was very, very fun. Okay, after the X millionth time of my camera overheating, let us get to the Patreon and YouTube member shoutout. Thank you so much to Jennifer, Ryan, Alexa, Jess, Naomi, Shaw, Christiana, T. Demon, Elizabeth, Sylvia, Penny, Weirfestira, Katrina, V, Bella, Derek, Smiley, Robin, Houston, Shannon, Andrew, Tisha, Sarah, Stanny, Rowan, Aziza, Carrie, August, Hannah, Shelby, Helena, SJ, Merle, Anne, Kate, Cade, Z, Kent, Brittany, Emery, Celine, Smolkata, Josh, Elinura, Knarr, Kristany, Rixie Business, Annalena, Svenna, Ashley, Tim, John, Phoenix, Jenny, Maggie, Misty, Amy, Bethany, Timothy, Coffee, or the Honorary Gossip Squirrel, and of course Bjorn. And the YouTube members, thank you so much to Sydney Midnight, Betsy, Peony Rain, Miller, and KT. Of course, as always, I really hope you enjoyed this video. And by the way, if you are a creator or anyone basically, you don't even have to be a creator to participate, then you are tagged now officially. So everyone participate in this tag. I think it is very, very important that a lot of people talk about these kinds of topics. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe and give a thumbs up and ring the bell down below so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. If you want to, then make sure to check out my other socials and my shop for ethically and sustainably sourced witchy wares. And if you want to support me in another way, then of course feel free to check out my Patreon or my YouTube membership. And with that being said, I will see you in another video. Bye!